Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov Chess channel and welcome to my Basics in Chess series. So we are continuing with this recognition of common pawn structures and we are continuing with this so-called Maroczy bind from White's perspective. So the Maroczy bind is this setup that I already prepared here for you. It's important here to realize this c4 e4 pawn setup, which is this so-called Maroczy bind, and this is really an annoying setup for black to play against, because white has this very nice space control with this advanced pawns. Meanwhile, you can see black has this problems with the space, because black has only occupied the 6th rank so far, and it's hard for black to put some pieces, maybe the knights here on e5, because in some occasions, of course, the knight could be kicked away. If the knight maybe jumps here on c5, the same idea with b4 pawn breakthroughs. So you see, it's really hard for black to put some pieces, and if you try maybe some pawn to put some pawns here in the center on the 5th rank, you see it leads into this positions in which you have this weak d6 pawn, and of course this d5 outpost. Of course it's not possible, it has to be prepared with e6, but again, if you play e6, then of course you will have this d6 pawn weakness again. So you see, this Maroczy bind was really considered by these top grandmasters a really weakness when you're playing as black, and today we do this so-called Maroczy hop. So it's really a strategical element from white's perspective. It's really an important one for you to realize, and it is this jump from knight on c3 to d5. This knight on d5 idea has several options and several threats for black, because if the knight maybe takes out here this pawn on d5, we have e takes d5, and then of course we could put some pressure here on the e file. Again, I point you out, this e6 idea would really weaken the pawn structure, because in that occasions, of course, it's not possible, because we can simply capture. So here the pressure could be on the e file. So let's go back. What can be other outcomes after knight on d5? Here, after knight on d5, well, black could maybe try e6 in order to kick away the knight from this very important 5th rank, but then you have maybe knight on e3 supporting here this c4 pawn, or you have maybe knight on c3 again, but now black is left here with this weak d6 pawn. So you see, it's really hard to kick away this knight from d5, which is one of the main strategical ideas while playing with this Maroczy bind as white. So of course you see again this e5 idea in order to maybe create ourselves here this outpost on d4 could be also a problem again after knight on e3, and then put some pressure with the rooks here on the d file, maybe rook on d2 and then rook on d1, with preparations maybe even to play c5. So you see, with this knight on d5 idea, it's really hard for black to find some counterplay. And let's see now a couple of examples how great players use this knight on d5 idea, this so-called Maroczy hop, in the middle game. So the first instructive game that I wanted to show you, it was a game played by Vladimir Kramnik against Daisy Corey. Here the legendary Vlad with the white pieces, and here he has the possibility to play this so-called Maroczy hop with knight on d5. Again, we have this pawn structure with c4 and e4. We gain some space. So far, black played this common knight on c5 outpost, which is really common against this Maroczy bind, because we want, from black's perspective at least, have some pieces and pawns on the 5th rank, because you saw in the first minutes of this video that black had all of his pawns on the 6th rank. So now at least black managed to move a little bit forward with this knight and with this pawn on a5, but now we have really the possibility here to play knight on d5 ideas, play simply around this space advantage on the 5th rank. So here black tried f5, which is also a common move for black to play against the Maroczy bind. We will see this move while I will show you, of course, this Maroczy bind from black's perspective, and this f5 move will be also one of the main strategical ideas in the middle game. And as I said in my previous videos, it's really important for you to realize both ideas, for black and for white, because you have to be familiar, of course, with black's ideas too in order to get your plan working. Here the plan is, of course, this knight on d5, Maroczy hop, but now with this f5 move, black is trying to weaken this e4 structure, and here from white's perspective, you shouldn't allow your opponent to take this pawn on e4, because after trades of pawns, let's go maybe which we can try here a3, then of course here after a trade of pieces or pawns on e4, now the e4 could be a weakness in long terms. It could be really an object of black's attack, because it's already attacked by the knight, and we have now black has now the possibilities maybe to play bishop on c3 and then simply take out this pawn. And if you try something like for white here to take out this knight, well, then you have a really weak position, because black has the bishop pair in an open position, and it could be really a problem in long term. So here e takes f5 was played by Vladimir Kramnik. We have bishop takes on f5, queen on d2, connecting the rooks, finishing the development. I think it's also really important here now to connect the rooks. Now the rook can go here on d1, and we could really occupy this important d and e file. So here knight on e5 was played, knight on d4, we have bishop on d7, and now king on h1. Now rook on c8, rook on d1, and you see now white's pieces are perfect squares. We have a very nice control. We have all of the pieces are really connected here together, and it's really important in these dynamic positions to have this pieces like this. And now we are searching for our knight on d5 idea. a4 was placed, and now finally knight on d5 by Vladimir Kramnik. And you see now the problems. If e6 is played in order to kick away this knight, then you have a d6 weakness, which could be really an annoying one, and it would be hard to black to defend this d6 pawn. Here rook on f7 was played, bishop on f2, we have e6. Now black tries to kick away the knight, but now knight on c3 again. Now we our main idea is to get this knight out of the d file, maybe knight on b5, and attack this d6 pawn. We have knight on bishop on c6, knight takes on c6, rook takes on c6. You see why black is trying now to defend this d6 weakness. He lost a little bit his coordination between the rooks, because the rooks are not connected like in white's position. We have now, you see, white has a perfect coordination with these pieces. This rooks by black are a little bit loose here on c6 and the f7. They're really not connected, and it can be also a problem in long term. So queen on c2 was played, putting the queen on this very important diagonal with this discovered attack on the king. Queen on f8, we have bishop on g3, rook on f5, now knight on b5, attacking this d6 weakness again. Knight on f7. You see black is only using his pieces to defend. Now b4 was played, we have 8x b4, 8x b3 with the ampassan, of course, sorry, 8x b3, and now bishop on e5. We have now b4, knight on a6, queen on b3, now rook on h5. Now we have f4, bishop on f6, and now you see the problems. Now we have finally rook takes on e6 after many moves were played, but you see Vladimir Kramnik now gained the pawn. Now we are attacking even more this weakness on d6, and now really black's position is a disaster. Now we have many weaknesses. We have also possibilities to play sort of a positional sacrifice. King on g7 was played, and here Vladimir Kramnik, of course, also great tactician. Rook takes on f6, we have king takes on f6, and now queen on c3. The king is here really endangered. Queen on c3, we have now knight on d4 attacking the rook, rook on c8, now rook on e1, king on d7, but now really nice move, c5, with the preparation to play bishop on b5. So you see really nice positional play and nice tactical play by the former world champion, the legendary Vlad. Very nice played, slowly taking advantage of the space and really creating this d6 e6 weaknesses. And after this e6 pawn that Vladimir Kramnik took, of course, it was a completely winning game for him. So let's see now another example. We have now a game played by Magnus Carlsen against Ketil Lee, and here Magnus with the white pieces, he has firmed also his so-called Maroczy bind with this c4 e4 pawn setup, and now we have also possibilities to create this Maroczy hop with this knight on d5 idea. a3 was played, we have king on h7, now king on h1, also common move while playing the Maroczy bind, because the king is sometimes here endangered on dark squares. We have weakened a little bit the position with this move f3, and we want to get out of this dark squares, which could be really a problem in some occasions. Maybe after moves as queen on b6 and similar ideas, black can create sort of a discovered attack on the king, but that's really in long terms. Here Magnus Carlsen immediately prevented it with king on h1. Bishop on e5 was played. Now we have b4, also common pawn breakthrough. We want to get rid of this space control with this for this knight. It's also really common idea while playing the Maroczy bind, because you see we want to get rid of this very nice placed knight, and we want to do it while not giving up our bishop on e3. As I said, here it would be a disaster if you give up your dark square bishop for the knight, because then after maybe e6 and queen on h4, black would have a really nice attack against your king, and you wouldn't have a counterplay because you gave up your dark square bishop. So remember that, don't give up your bishop pair here. So far there are occasions in which you maybe will give up your bishop pair, but so far it's not good to give it up immediately. 8 takes b4, 8 takes b4 was played. Now knight on e6, and now knight on d5. Again we have this Maroczy hop. We have rook on a3, f4, now bishop on g7, and now you see this Maroczy bind transposed into a really nice pawn attack here by Magnus Carlsen. We have now 4 pawns on the 4th rank. They're really flexible. We have flexibility, we have possibilities to play maybe e5, f5 here, even c5, b5 ideas. So many options. Black is really bit pushed out here. Again, most of the pieces and pawns are only on the 6th rank. Black didn't create space at all so far in this game, so here this knight on d5 idea is again a good one. f5, you see Magnus chose here this very aggressive attack on the knight. We have a knight on f8, now bishop on g5, attacking this weak e7 pawn. Now we have bishop takes on d5, and now queen takes on d5. We have e6, and now f takes e6, e takes f takes e6, and now queen on b7. And again white managed to grab a pawn because black was too passive in this game, and I'm not going to show you all the whole game. I hope you realize that white is completely winning here. He only has to do is defend this pawns a little bit, and then create maybe a pass pawn situation, which Magnus Carlsen did in this game, and he won the game very effective. So let's see now our last example in this Maroczy bind. Again we have this c4 e4 setup, again with the preparation to play the move knight on d5, and it's a game played by the legendary Jose Raul Capablanca against Einar Michelson. Jose Raul Capablanca, also one of the best positional players in chess history and the former world champion. We have f5, again this idea by black to undermine a little bit this pressure in the center with this e4 pawn. So again e takes f5, we have G takes f5. Now knight on d5 again creating this Maroczy hop. We have queen on d2, rook takes on d2, knight on d4, bishop takes on d4, and now bishop on c6. Here black searched a little bit for simplifications in the position. Black tried to trade off some pieces, really simplify the position, but now white finds a really nice move and attacks this knight here on h5. Now bishop on d5 was played, bishop takes on g7, knight takes on g7, and now rook takes on d5. Again, we don't want, of course it wasn't possible to take out with the pawn, but here Jose Raul Capablanca took out with the rook, and now the preparation is to play maybe rook on e1 and again creating some pressure on this very weak e7 pawn. So you see with this knight on the d5 and the trade of some pieces on the square d5, black will continue the game with many weaknesses in his position, and now our main target is of course this e7 pawn. That's why king on f7 was played. Now rook on d1, king on f6, we have h3, which is the preparation to connect the pawns here, play the move g4 and have a very nice flexible position on the king side. We have rook on g8, king on f1, f2, knight on e8, and now g4. And now e6, rook on d3, and now b5. And there is this thing about this Maroczy bind. I played it many times as black and as white, and there is this common rook sacrifice possible. You have to calculate it, of course, but I want you really to realize that rook sacrifices in the Maroczy bind are really sometimes possible, because black is really a little bit paralyzed with his pawns, with his pieces. And here Jose Raul Capablanca played a very nice move, rook takes on d6, knight takes on d6, rook takes on d6, and now the a6 pawn is hanging. Meanwhile, if you grab the pawn with b takes c4, then we have bishop takes on c4 attacking the e6 pawn. Again, I'm pointing you out that we have a weakness on the e file of the pawn, and we then also this a6 pawn with hanging. Here the position is still flexible, so if b takes c4 would have been played, then of course we would first play the move g5 with the check on the king, and then maybe grab the pawn, or maybe grab the pawn here on c4. So here that's why b4 was played. Now bishop on f3, we have a5, now king on e3, very strong move, centralizing the king. h5, now of course g5, now we have a supported pass pawn, which is a really nice strategical element in an endgame. King on e7, now rook on a6, we have rook on c5, we have king on d4, rook on c7, and now very strong move again by Capablanca. Rook takes on e6, king takes on e6, bishop takes on d5, king has to move. Now he took the rook here on g8, rook on e7, now c5, we have king on c6, bishop on d5 with the check, and again creating a tempo. King on b5 was played, and now g6, and in this position black resigned, because black cannot prevent these two pawns for promotion. If he tries maybe rook on g7, then we have of course rook takes bishop on f7 with the preparation then simply to push forward, because this rook here would have been trapped on g7 and it couldn't move anywhere. So very nice positional again, and then in transpose into these tactical ideas. Really nice game played by Jose Raul Capablanca. So let's go back a little bit here after this f5 move. Here we have e takes f5, g takes f5, and again knight on d5, this so-called Maroczy hop. I hope you realize it. It's really a nice strategical idea in the middle game while playing as white, the Maroczy bind, and you should be of course familiar with it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, you can watch my other basics in chess videos with the opening principles, middle game strategies and middle game plannings, and the endgame strategies. And you can also watch my chess tactics and chess puzzles if you want to have a better knowledge about all of the possible tactical motifs that can happen in the chess game. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.